So, Cal, it's been a while, and on this most auspicious of evenings, well, it's evening for me, I don't know about you, but on this most auspicious of evenings, you decide to come into this relaxing, peaceful environment and proceed to fart on me. Lovely. How pleasant. I hope you're doing well, though, my dear. It's been a while since I've done anything like this, but yeah, I've been wanting to do more reading streams I was going to say lately and then recently, and then I said recently. Recently, I've been wanting to do more reading streams because it's been a while. So, today, I'll tell you what, hang on, let's move to the side a bit. Let's move to the side. Yep. And then we can have our little image of what our book is today, which I had forgot to put on already. Here we go. I hope you're doing well there, Cal. If you're sticking around, prepare to just have a nice chill-out session as I do some practice on You know, it's not a great start to the stream when I can't even talk, and I'm going to be talking for the next at least couple of hours. But hey, what do I know? Let's go. By the way, how's the audio? How's my audio sounding? There we go. I saw a little book today. A Bambi, a Life in the Woods by Felix Salten. And listen, when I had dinner, excellent. I hope you have a wonderful meal. I'll be turning the sounds in the background off whilst we're reading, just because I don't want to distract from the experience. But hang on. I heard that came off on the mic a lot. Bambi's mum's a smash, I hear. You know what, I've never really thought about it. I don't really want to fuck a dead deer. But, you know what? Necrophilia is not amongst my favourite tags, nor is bestiality. But hey, you do you. No, she doesn't die. Why would you think that? That was all a joke. Everyone knows that animals can't die. All you need to do is just put a little sticker on them, and then which says immortal, and then they'll live forever. See, I don't even get that. That was a Demolition D. Okay, there's a YouTuber called Douchebag Chocolat, also known as Demolition D, and he used to be a really big anime YouTuber, and he kind of retired. He does streaming actually still, and he gets a fairly sizable audience, but he doesn't really do videos as much anymore. I don't know if he's ever talked about it. One of the skits he did for his video, he has a abnormally large amount of pets, and he got a little sticky note or something like that, wrote immortal on it, and then stuck it on his cat because someone said they will die soon, and he just stuck that and was like, oh, okay. And then the cat was really confused, like, I can't see anything, there's this weird thing on my face, and it was rather amusing to see the cat panic all of a sudden. But yes, that was rather lovely. What are you eating tonight, Cal? I hope you're not eating cow, because that would be cannibalism. Unless you're into that, in which case, you know what? You do you, queen. It seems that there's a lot of women who are into cannibalism online, but not actual cannibalism, but rather they have an interest in it. It's man, what would bring someone to eat themselves in the kind of way that people. It seems like a lot of women are really interested in true crime genres and stuff like that. Pork katsu, oh lovely. I didn't make a katsu for it, but I did make a Japanese curry last night, and man. You've just noticed how different Japanese rice is compared to just how different types of rice are in general. I'm in England, and a lot of the rice we have is the most common rice you'll probably find is basmati rice, because there's a lot of I guess Middle Eastern influence on the food here, and yeah, and man, Japanese rice and basmati rice are very different in flavour, and it's really nice there. Beef is great. Beef is great. Beef's delicious. I could bite into some beef. Actually, though, I must say, I don't know if this is controversial to say or not, but I am not a big steak guy. I'm back in England now to, well, Scotland. I'm missing the Asian rice. Oh, I didn't know that you're in England. I didn't know that, cow. Like, you can still get it, like, getting some, like, jasmine or, at least onagaria it's called. Onagaria? Onagaria? Something like that, the Japanese sushi rice, which is the most common rice you'll find. But, yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah, you can still find it, just have a look around for it. No, you're right, it is more expensive. I guess you need to consider how many times you'll be using it, right? Like, how many meals will you get out of it? Like, let's say you use, like, half a cup's worth of rice. And you have, like, a 1 kilogram bag. That's about, like, 10 portions, over 10 portions worth of rice. Which is not bad, though, yeah, it is expensive. I guess when you're... Okay, actually, I need to complain about something. You ever see those, like, food YouTubers like Joshua Wiseman? Hate that guy. You ever see food YouTubers like, this is how you make this thing for cheap? And it's like, yeah, this only costs $3 per portion. And it's like, that's not how people calculate food for shopping at home. Only little Aldi, I get that totally. I've not been to Aldi recently. I should go more just because it's cheaper. It is way cheaper than the other one, than like any other main brand supermarkets. But yeah, it's so good. Actually, I did go to like a proper like market butcher's the other day because they had like a big roll of pork, and like I want to try and make like chashu pork, like the proper big like pork rolls. That I made some like fresh ramen for the first time the other day, and it was really really nice. Just like a very simple like soy sauce miso ramen. And just to get some just a vegetable thing. I just had some carrots and spring onions in it, and I think it's something else. I can't remember now. Oh, some nori as well. Yeah. I've been trying to want to make some Japanese food recently, and I'm like, man, I want to make some chashu pork. Yeah. As I actually went to Japan last year, and okay, there's a lot of very nice food in Japan. I think a lot of people kind of hype it up a bit too much there, because the food's very good, but it's not like, at least me personally, I was not blown away by it, and I don't mean this in a bad way. So I do a lot of cooking at home, and it's like, the British person can't cook. No, I cook a lot. I'm very good at it, and I study a lot for it as well. Like, the majority of videos I'll watch are either VTuber stuff, game stuff, or cooking stuff. That's what I watch on YouTube. And it's like, because I've practiced cooking stuff, and I'll try and make a different variety of things. I've never tried making Japanese food, even though Japanese food available here is not commonly available unless you go to like a big city or something. Especially for beans on toast. You know what? There's nothing wrong with it. It's like a cheap. If you're like tired, and you don't have anything in your cupboard, and it's just like, I have bread and I have beans in a can. It's like, or a tin or whatever you call it. It's like, you know what? Go for it. There's something kind of satisfying about it in a way, how simple it is. It's great with some cheese. Oh, actually, okay. I keep getting tangented, so I'm gonna have to go on. Okay, I'm not a big fan of cheese in terms of like. Okay, no, I like cheese, but I'm very picky about it. And for the longest time, I didn't realise why I didn't like macaroni and cheese. And I'm like, well, it's just pasta, which I like. And it's cheese, which I sometimes like. And I didn't really understand what it was. And then, a little while ago, like a couple of weeks ago now, I made for the first time cacio e pepe, which is just basically just pasta, black pepper, like a lot of black pepper, and some kind of cheese. Like, I think I use pecorino romano? Something like that? Yeah. And I like pecorino romano. I like it more than parmigiano. Like, I think parmigiano's... Oh, God, can't stand the smell of it. It's just too pungent for me. Like, it makes me not... It makes me gag. Anyway, I kind of realised from making cacio e pepe why I don't like macaroni and cheese. I don't like it when cheese is the predominant flavour. I think cheese is a really good accent to flavours. Like, I mean, pizza is often... The common description of a pizza is flatbread with some kind of sauce, predominantly tomato, and then topped with cheese, right? And there's a diversity there, and like the sauce kind of cuts through the cheese and vice, and they work well together, right? And I enjoy that. Same with like lasagna as well, right? Man, I really don't like it if cheese is the main flavour. It's too much, and I'm like, ugh. Same, excellent, good taste, cow, good taste. But yeah, and it's not my cup of tea. And I'm very picky about cheese anyway. I can't eat just cheese. Need pickle with it. Ah, see, I'm not a big like pickle that guy myself, honestly. But I understand it. I can get why people enjoy it, but I am. It's not for me. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of like cheese as the predominant flavor. There needs to be something more with it. Going back to Japanese food, though, like I've made a lot of food at home, and like when I went to Japan, like I got kind of close. I'm glad about that. So I didn't take it as like, oh man, Japanese food's good, but it's not like I didn't get blown away. Blah, blah, blah. It's gonna be like Shokugeki no Soma, where your clothes are exploding or whatever. But it's like, oh, I can't. With what limited stuff I had and what limited knowledge I had, I actually got kind of close to all of these flavors in Japan, and on one hand, I'm glad about that. It's like, oh yeah, I get kind of close. But on the other hand, it's like, man, I think people really, if people are talking up Japanese food so much, I think a large part of that is because they're not used to the flavors, or they don't do a lot of cooking at home, and they don't practice it. I think that's where what happens with a lot of people. And I was gonna say that, yeah, like I think that Japanese food is very good. I don't like everything. Like I tried umeboshi, like pickled plums. You get them a lot in like rice balls and stuff. I Ooh, God, I was not a big fan of that. I understand there's like multiple different ways to pickle it, and there's different types of plums you can use. I had it in a hotel, in the hotel staying. I think it was at breakfast, and they had umeboshi. I'm like, I'll try this. Whoa, that was a lot to handle. It was very sour, and like I hate this. And I get that you have it with rice to like kind of like mute the flavors a bit. Did not help. The cream blew me away though, so silky. So I didn't actually have any of the cream there. I didn't like the milk though, and I had a look at this after, and like a lot of it is like UHT milk, which is like oftentimes you'll get it in like a lot of European countries as UHT milk because it's like it's used for it's milk which has been like heat treated to be I don't think it was too sweet. That wasn't the problem for me. There was something, I can't remember what exactly I found odd with the flavour there, but I looked it up and like, oh yeah, it tastes like UHT milk. And it's like, it's been super heat treated, and the reason for that is, okay, so a lot of time you get UHT milk in like Europe and such, it's there because it can be stored for a long time even without refrigeration. And a lot of people will use it to, if you don't drink a lot of milk, but you want it in like tea or coffee or something like that, or maybe in like a recipe, people get it for that. Like, okay, that makes sense. People also use it if they're lactose intolerant, because one of the big things is that it makes it, I guess, tolerable for lactose intolerant people. Yeah, it literally says you can tolerate this. And there's a lot of lactose intolerance in Japan, and apparently it's just because I found out recently actually. A lot of countries in like Asia aren't used to drinking milk, or they haven't developed the genes for it like a lot of people in Europe have. Like Europe is generally colder than a lot of East Asia and stuff, and as a result of that, historically we kind of developed the genes to drink milk and consume milk because it was like a good fat source for us, right? And we kind of evolved to do that, and which wasn't the same in all the other continents of the planet. I just suffer the intolerance. It feels so good, but it's gonna feel so bad afterwards. But yeah, because a lot of countries don't have that kind of don't have the resilience because of genetic enhancements to consume milk. It's actually believed that when Leif Erikson where was he from? Is Icelandic, was he? No, I think he was from Iceland, but his family was from Iceland, but they were banished, maybe. I can't remember, to another land. I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, Leif Erikson is widely believed from his original book, from the epic of Leif Erikson, I believe called the Vinland Saga, which the popular manga and anime also gets its name from. It talks about how Leif Erikson was the explorer, went from Iceland to Greenland and then to North America, it's largely believed that he actually landed in Canada, and we've actually found remnants of an old settlement in on the northern coast of Canada, which may have been where he landed initially, where him and his crew had landed. And there are reports that apparently they offered milk to them, to the native tribes they uncovered there, or they interacted with there. It's like, trading and gift giving and such. Realistically, it would have more likely been cheese, because cheese is much easier to store over a long trip than milk, obviously. But and it's only for the people they met there to have severe stomach aches the next day, and it's largely believed it would have likely been due to lactose intolerance, and they thought that they were trying to be poisoned by these foreigners, this invading group. Not the case. It was just simply the idea they didn't understand. They didn't know that lactose intolerance was a thing, even, or they didn't understand that they wouldn't be able to stomach it, and yeah, that didn't obviously go down very well with them. Like, these guys are trying to poison us. I don't know what they sounded like, but yeah, little story about that. Anyway, yeah. Back to food though, yeah, a lot of to be fair, that would have been my first thought. These white people, these weird pale folk. I imagine they wouldn't have ever met a white person before. No, I imagine a lot of them, it would be the first time seeing someone who's even slightly pale skinned, unless they'd met people from Greenland or something like that, because that was fairly. Was it Greenland? Yeah. Especially after the the opium? What, the opium? The what? Are you saying opium? I don't understand. Anyway, that's okay. But yeah, I imagine it would have been a lot of the. Yes, opium. Okay, you can say drug. Can you say drugs on Twitch? I don't know. No one's going to report me if I say opium. Weed. Oh, I went to Amsterdam the other day. Last weekend, actually, it was. I went to see Akuma Nimune in concert, because it was the first time. It's the first time doing big concerts. She only had one in Europe, which was in Amsterdam, in Netherlands, because, I don't think Americans really understand that Europe is a continent, not a country. But either way, I went there. I was I've been a fan of Numi since 1.0, since her first year of streaming. It's so awesome to see her, succeeding like this, and I want to go and see it. It's my dream to wanting to see this for a long time now. And I went to see it, and I was like, man, this was great. A bit of scuff, but that's part of the Numi charm. Amsterdam is weird. You just have a lot of places just selling weed, and just brownies and magic mushrooms and things like that. Interesting that you could actually buy your own marijuana seed beds, which I thought was rather interesting. You can grow it at home, which I would have thought was pretty bad for business, considering that if you grow your own, why do you need to buy any more? I didn't look at the prices for them, and even then I wouldn't have been able to bring anything back. And also, I don't really do any drugs at all, except for if I need it for medication or anything like that. But yeah. I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting. It was rather odd. Also, maybe this was just where I was, but surprisingly little weed smells, right? You sometimes you walk around a place and God, it smells like weed here. And I think it smells gross. I think it smells like cat piss. And sure, there was that, but also not as much as I thought. It would be everywhere. And I think a lot of it might be, one, due to the area it's in, but due to, they have, bars for it, right? They have, cafes and bars where you can, go and smoke cocaine. You don't smoke cocaine. I don't think they allow cocaine in there. No, but you can smoke marijuana and these marijuana bars and stuff in cafes, and maybe a lot of the smells are kind of in there then, because everyone's kind of just hey, you know what? Let's go and have a chill out in this place together, and instead of doing it out on the streets. Maybe that's it. Also, it's kind of a little weird, a little embarrassing, but pretty interesting. Walking past a building, and there's just naked women sitting in the windows to advertise their services. And I'm like, holy shit, these women's boobies are all out. The nip-nops and everything. And I'm like, damn, I feel embarrassed to look at these people. Yeah, they also have signs saying don't film or photograph the sex workers, and I can appreciate that. But yeah, it was really interesting. I don't think Amsterdam is for me though. Maybe I don't know what the Netherlands is like. I don't want to live in England for the rest of my life. because England is, well, shit and getting shitter, right? It's becoming more and more totalitarian, and more incompetent in how it's been run over the past several decades, and will probably continue. And it's rather depressing talk. I don't really want to get too into it. This is meant to be a gentle, relaxing evening, so we're going to get onto reading in a second. But yeah, I don't know if Amsterdam's a place for me. I think simply because if you're going to Amsterdam, like, this is kind of sad, right? It was very lonely going there, because it was me by myself, and like, you know what? I want to see Numi. I've been wanting to see this ever since I first discovered her, because I always knew she'd make it big, and she has done. Big enough to go to concerts, and I'm like, I don't move. I'm sorry, Cal, it's okay. It's okay, dear. It's okay, nothing to be afraid of. We're just gonna have a nice, relaxing evening here. But, yeah, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go to this Numi trip all by myself. I did ask someone if they'd be interested, and like, weren't bothered about it. I'm like, that's okay. I didn't really care that much. I'm just going to go by myself. And don't get me wrong, the concert was great, and the people I met there were really nice. A bunch of, a community called the Noombas, just a bunch of really, like nice people. And yeah, that first night I got there, and then like I went into my hostel, and I was like, signed it, everything, went out, had a look around, just exploring the area a bit. It was fucking cold. It was really cold, so that's maybe not the best impression as well. But yeah, it was very lonely that first night, that Friday night in Amsterdam. That sounds like a good name for a book, actually, Friday Night in Amsterdam, and there's some like big mystery afoot. But yeah, that first night in Amsterdam was rather lonely, as I was just walking around in the evening, seeing what's on offer, and then just seeing all these people hanging out with a friend, getting drunk or whatnot, or just having partying and everything. And that's not my scene, and I'm okay with that. But like, even on the way there, a lot of people at like the plane and stuff in the airport were all like going in large groups with each other to go and like have just a fun evening, fun weekend away in Amsterdam. And a lot of it was, I didn't get that because I went by myself, and I don't have any friends a lot of the time. In real life, you get to. No, I do, yeah. It's just, I think I'm really at a point in life where I'm like, I don't want to be alone anymore, I guess. But I also don't really know how to change that. I guess I can only try and interact with people more. But who knows if that will work out in the long run. I don't certainly know. I don't know. I don't know the word for it. But yeah. Thank you for the love, Cal. Appreciate it. But yeah, the concert itself, though, was really fun. Again, there was some scuff, but that was to be expected. But, because it's Akuma Numine, resident girl failure. But yeah. I think it taught me a valuable lesson, and I'm glad I went there regardless. Nice bakeries there, I will say. There's some really nice cinnamon buns and things like that. I went to a canal tour as well, which is really nice. I guess the captain of the canal boat, I guess that you call it, he made a really good joke of that. Yeah, so a couple hundred years ago, we, in the Netherlands, had this great plan where we basically funneled clean water from Germany into the canals around Amsterdam and flushed out all the sewage, and it ended up being flushed into England, and we called it Brexit. Okay, that's rather clever. I get that. That's a good joke. Good joke. But yeah, he was fun. And yeah, it was a nice canal tour. I wanted to go to the Anne Frank Museum as well, but unfortunately you need to book 6 weeks in advance, and I'm like, ooh, no, I can't. Okay, never mind then. It's kind of like how if you want to go to the Ghibli Museum in Japan, you need to, like, book, like, several months in advance, basically, because they get booked up really quickly, and if you're going to do it, you need to basically plan your entire trip around it. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. I did go to the Amsterdam Sex Museum, though. A little disappointing. I thought there'd be more of a narrative about sex and its abuse throughout the years. But, it was still interesting. I think a lot of it is there for shock value, which is fine. But, there's some interesting stuff there. Yeah, no, it was fine. It was totally fine. And, I spent a lot of time hanging out with the people at the, from going to the concert, actually, because Man, walking around Amsterdam is really tiring, but I had to go walk like over an hour to get to the venue because like I was in a accommodation which is nearer to the central station. I thought it'd be more useful for me, but it's fine. Oh yeah, one last thing before we start reading. I was mentioning about food before and like cooking and such. One thing I was really happy about, because my brother actually works as a teacher in Japan, and I have you ever had lokomoko? It's a Hawaiian dish. It's basically like like rice topped with a burger, and then a fried egg. I don't normally do the fried egg though, just because I don't like eggs. But traditionally it's rice with a burger, covered in gravy, and then topped with an egg, with a fried egg. But and maybe some green onions as well if you want to as well. I generally put the onions on. No, it's really good. It's like fairly cheap to make, kind of originally designed as like student food, I guess. Um, like cheap student food to use, and which is just tasty, and like the sauce you make is really really good. It is more of a gravy more than anything. You use like beef stock and Worcestershire sauce and like ketchup, and oh man, it's really really good. But yeah, it's really really nice. And my brother, he told me that he went to a Hawaiian restaurant in Japan and he ordered it, and he was like, man, it reminded me of home because it reminded me of like when you'd cook lokomoko. And I'm like, nice, I can do it as good as a restaurant. That's pretty good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm so fucking good at this. No, but seriously, no, it was honestly very flattering to hear. And I'm like, nice, that can it's can get close to that kind of quality. Cooking stream when? I'd really want to. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I don't have the setup. I don't think to do it at home. Um, I think if anything, I would need to move out of where I currently live because I do live with family members at the moment, and I can't do it with them around. I just can't. Also, the cookers I had, the hobs I had at home, they're very reflective. And I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that with them being so reflective. Do want to though, but I guess I need to move out and both have the funds to move out and also find the people to move out with because I don't want to move out by myself. Maybe you can get like you get what they call like no, what they call not like you can get like shared accommodation, I guess, or like like house shares where you just room with other people, I guess, as well. But it's kind of like getting a roommate, but not because it's like you're on the contract to look after the house and everything like that. And like that might be useful just because it's like a way for me to socialize after being at uni when lockdown was on, and oh god, a VTuber house sounds fucking terrible. Terrible. Um, After being at like back when Corona lockdown was on, and being at uni by myself, um, man, it was very lonely. And normally I'm fine with being alone, but being completely isolated like that is something where I'd probably commit in Minecraft, if you know what I mean. Luckily I actually made a really good friend there, so in my last year of university, when this was happening, uh, there was an exchange from, he wasn't a student actually, I think he was more, I guess he kind of was a student at the time, anyway, he was, a guy from China came, and ended up becoming really good friends with him, still friends with him today, but we ended up becoming, like, friends when people were still there, like, kind of talking a bit more, but then when everyone had left, we kind of just got on really well, and we'd talk all the time, I talk a lot and stuff, and it was, like, really satisfying to have someone there who you were, like, comfortable with. I introduced him to like J2Os, the soft drink which you drink at bars to make yourself feel more like comfortable when you don't drink alcohol and everyone else is drinking alcohol. I introduced him to them and like, man, they're really good. I'm like, yeah, they're nice. Anyway, little anecdote. So let's get on with the show, shall we? We're just going to turn the volume here down, just because we want the book to be the main focus. Let me know if you want. If you want the music on a little bit, or the background on a little bit, we can do. But now we're just gonna do the book and the reading. So yeah, this is Bambi: A Life in the Woods by Felix Salten. I'm sure you're aware of the Disney film. Probably more of a light-hearted take on it, in all things considered. But yeah, that was back when Disney was just acquiring the rights to books all the time. Thank you, Cal. I did just have a sip of water, but I'll have another one. I may take a break in a little while just to go and get some more water after reading a bit, but we're going to see how it goes. Anyway, if volume's okay, we're just going to go. So, chapter 1. He came into the world in the middle of the thicket, in one of those little hidden forest glades which seemed to be entirely open, but are really screened on all sides. There was very little room in it, scarcely enough for him and his mother. He stood there, swaying unsteadily on his thin legs and staring vaguely in front of him with clouded eyes which saw nothing. He hung his head, trembled a great deal, and was still completely stunned. What a beautiful child!" cried the magpie. She had flown past, attracted by the deep groans of the mother uttered in her labour. The magpie perched on a neighbouring branch. "What a beautiful child!" she kept repeating. Receiving no answer, she went on talkatively. "How amazing to think that he should be able to get right up and walk! How interesting! I've never seen the like of it in all my born days. Of course, I'm still young, only a year out of the nest, you might say. But I think it's wonderful, a child like that, hardly a minute in this world, and beginning to walk already. I call that remarkable. Really, I find everything you dear do is so remarkable. Can he run too?" "Of course," replied Mother softly. "You must pardon me if I don't talk with you now. I have so much to do, and I still feel a little faint." "Oh, don't put yourself out on my account," said the magpie. "I have very little time myself, but you don't see a sight like this every day. Think what a care and bother such things mean to us. The children can't stir once they are out of the egg, but lie helpless in the nest and require attention, I repeat, of which you simply can't have any comprehension. What a labour it is to feed them, what a trouble to watch them. Just think, for a moment, what a strain it is to hunt food for the children, and have to be eternally on guard lest something happen to them. They are helpless if you're not with them. Isn't that the truth? Oh, and how long it is before they can move. How long it is before they get their feathers and look like anything at all." "Pardon," replied the mother. "I wasn't listening." The magpie flew off. "Stupid soul," she thought to herself. "Very nice, but stupid." The mother scarcely noticed that she was gone. She continued zealously washing her newly born. She washed him with her tongue, fondling and caressing his body in a sort of warm massage. The slight thing staggered a little under the strokes of her tongue, which softly touched him here and there. He drew himself together and stood still. His little red coat, that was still somewhat tousled, bore fine white spots, and on his vaguely baby face there was still a deep, sleepy expression. Round about grew hazel bushes, dogwoods, blackthorns, and young elders. Tall maples, beeches, and oaks wove a green roof over the thicket, and from the firm, dark brown earth sprang fern fronds, woodvetch, and sage. Underneath, the leaves of the violets, which had already bloomed, and of the strawberries, which were just beginning, clung to the ground. Through the thick foliage, the early sunlight filtered in a golden web. The whole forest resounded with myriad voices, was penetrated by them in a joyous agitation. The wood thrush rejoiced incessantly. The doves cooed without stopping. The blackbirds whistled. Finches warbled. The titmice chirped. Through the midst of these songs the jay flew, uttering its quarrelsome cry. The magpie mocked them, and the pheasants cackled loud and high. At times the shrill exulting of a woodpecker rose above all the other voices. The call of the falcon shrilled, light and piercing, over the tree-tops, and the hoarse crow chorus was heard continuously. The little fawn understood not one of the many songs and calls, not a word of the conversations. He did not even listen to them, nor did he heed any of the odours which blew through the woods. He heard only the soft licking against his coat that washed him and warmed him and kissed him. And he smelled nothing but his mother's body near him. She smelled good to him, and, snuggling closer to her, he hunted eagerly around and found nourishment for his life. While he suckled, the mother continued to caress her little one. "Bambi," she whispered. Every little while she raised her head and, listening, snuffed the wind. Then she kissed her fawn again, reassured and happy. "Bambi," she repeated. "My little Bambi." And that's the end of chapter 1. Let's get rid of this little thing. But yeah, that's just the end of chapter 1. It wasn't that cute. Begone, bot. Your ilk is not welcome here. But there we go. No need to worry now. We can put the background on if you'd like, the background music on still if you'd like, but if you find just listen to the book by itself, that's okay. More traditional audiobook, I guess. But yeah, that's chapter 1. Rather charming, rather cute. Apologies, the page turns, by the way, are a bit distracting as well. But I do have a physical version with me. If not, I would have got a digital version, and I would be showing that on stream as we're going through, because there are some rather pleasant illustrations in the book. But that's okay. Anyway, let's move on to chapter 2. In early summer, the trees stood still under the blue sky, held their limbs outstretched, and received the direct rays of the sun. On the shrubs and bushes in the undergrowth, the flowers unfolded their red, white, and yellow stars. On some the seed pods had begun to appear again. Hi, Buster. They perched innumerable on the fine tips of the branches, tender and firm and resolute, and seemed like small clenched fists. Out of the earth came whole troops of flowers, like motley stars, so that the soil of the twilt forest floor shone with a silent, ardent, colourful gladness. Everything smelled of fresh leaves, of blossoms, of moist clods and green wood. When morning broke, or when the sun went down, the whole woods resounded with 1,000 voices, and from morning till night the bees hummed, the wasps droned, and filled the fragrant stillness with their murmur. These were the earliest days of Bambi's life. He walked behind his mother on a narrow track that ran through the midst of the bushes. How pleasant it was to walk there! The thick foliage stroked his flanks softly and bent supplely aside. The track appeared to be barred and obstructed in a dozen places, and yet he advanced with the greatest ease. There were tracks like this everywhere, running crisscross through the whole woods. His mother knew them all, and if Bambi sometimes stopped before a bush, as if it were an impenetrable green wall, she always found where the path went through, without hesitation or searching. Bambi questioned her. He loved to ask his mother questions. It was the pleasantest thing for him to ask a question and then to hear what answer his mother would give. Bambi was never surprised that question after question should come into his mind continually and without effort. He found it perfectly natural, and it delighted him very much. It was very delightful, too, to wait expectantly till the answer came. If it turned out the way he wanted, he was satisfied. Sometimes, of course, he did not understand. But that was pleasant also, because he was kept busy picturing what he had not understood, in his own way. Sometimes he felt very sure that his mother was not giving him a complete answer, was intentionally not telling him all she knew. And at first, that was very pleasant too, for then there would remain in him such lively curiosity, such suspicion, mysteriously and joyously flashing through him, such anticipation, that he would become anxious and happy at the same time, and grow silent. Once he asked, "Whom does this child belong to, Mother?" His mother answered. "To us." Bambi asked again. "To you and me?" "Yes." "To us too?" "Yes." "Only to us two?" "No," said his mother. "To us, dear." "What a dear!" Bambi asked and laughed. His mother looked at him from head to foot and laughed too. "You are dear, and I am a dear. We're both dear," she said. "Do you understand?" Bambi sprang into the air for joy. "Yes, I understand," he said. "I'm a little deer, and you're a big deer, aren't you?" His mother nodded and said, "Now you see." But Bambi grew serious again. "Are there other deer besides you and me?" he asked. "Oh, sir, I don't know if you can hear that, my stomach's growling." "Are there other deer besides you and me?" he asked. "Oh, certainly," his mother said. "Many of them." "Where are they?" cried Bambi. "Here? Everywhere? Oh, but I don't see them." "You will soon," she said. "When?" Bambi stood still with curiosity. "Soon," the mother walked on quietly. Bambi followed her. He kept silent, for he was wondering what soon might mean. He came to the conclusion that soon was certainly not now. But he wasn't sure at what time soon stopped being soon and it began to be a long while. Suddenly he asked, "Who made this trail?" "We," his mother answered. Bambi was astonished. "We? You and I?" the mother said. "Well, we dear," Bambi asked. "Which deer?" They walked on. Bambi was in high spirits and felt like leaping off the path, but he stayed close to his mother. Something rustled in front of them, close to the ground. The fern fronds and wood lettuce concealed something that advanced in violent motion. A thread-like little cry shrilled out piteously. Then all was still. Only the leaves and the blades of grass shivered back into place. A ferret had caught a mouse. He came slinking by, slid sideways, and prepared to enjoy his meal. "What was that?" asked Bambi excitedly. "Nothing," his mother soothed him. "But," Bambi trembled, "but I saw it." Yes, said his mother. "Don't be frightened. The ferret has killed a mouse." But Bambi was dreadfully frightened. A vast, unknown horror clutched at his heart. It was long before he could speak again. Then he asked, "Why did he kill the mouse?" "Because—" his mother hesitated. "Let us walk faster," she said, as though something had just occurred to her, and as though she had forgotten the question. She began to hurry. Bambi sprang after her. A long pause ensued. They walked on quietly again. Finally, Bambi asked anxiously, "Shall we kill a mouse sometime too?" "No," replied his mother. "Never?" asked Bambi. "Never," came the answer. "Why not?" asked Bambi, relieved. "Because we never kill anything," said his mother simply. Bambi grew happy again. Loud cries were coming from a young ash tree which stood near the path. The mother went along without noticing them, but Bambi stopped inquisitively. Overhead, 2 jays were quarrelling about a nest they had plundered. "Get away, you murderer!" cried one. "Keep cool, you fool," the other answered. "I'm not afraid of you." "Kill Bambi. No, cease this cow." Look for your own nest, the first one shouted, or I'll break your head for you. He was beside himself with rage. What vulgarity, he chattered. What vulgarity! The other jay had spied Bambi and fluttered down a few branches to shout at him. What are you gawking at, you freak? He screamed. Bambi sprang away, terrified. He reached his mother and walked behind her again, frightened and obedient, thinking she had not noticed his absence. After a pause, he asked, Mother, what is vulgarity? I don't know, said his mother. Bambi thought a while. Then he began again. Why were they both so angry with each other, Mother? He asked. They were fighting over food, his mother answered. Will we fight over food too, sometime? Bambi asked. No, said his mother. Bambi asked. Why not? Because there is enough for all of us, his mother replied. Bambi wanted to know something else. Mother, he began, what is it? Will we be angry with each other sometimes? He asked. No, child, said his mother. We don't do such things. They walked along again. Presently it grew light ahead of them. It grew very bright. The trail ended with a tangle of vines and bushes. A few steps more and they would be in the bright open space that spread out before them. Bambi wanted to be bound forward, but his mother had stopped. Or wanted to bound forward, his mother stopped. Apologies. What is it? He asked impatiently, already delighted. In the meadow, his mother answered. What is a meadow? Asked Bambi insistently. His mother cut him short. You'll soon find out for yourself, she said. She became very serious and watchful. She stood motionless, holding her head high and listening intently. She sucked in deep breathfuls of air and looked very severe. It's all right, she said at last. We can go out. Bambi leaped forward, but his mother barred the way. Wait till I call you, she said. Bambi obeyed at once and stood still. That's right, said his mother to encourage him. And now, listen to what I am saying to you. Bambi heard how seriously his mother spoke and felt terribly excited. Walking on the meadow is not so simple, his mother went on. It's a difficult and dangerous business. Don't ask me why. You'll find that out later on. Now, do exactly as I tell you to do. Will you? Yes, Bambi promised. Good, said his mother. I'm going to go out alone first. Stay here and wait. And don't take your eyes off me for a minute. If you see me run back here, then turn around and run as fast as you can. I'll catch up with you soon. She grew silent and seemed to be thinking. Then she went on earnestly. Run away as fast as your legs will carry you. Run even if something should happen. Even if you should see me fall to the ground. Don't think of me. Do you understand? No matter what you see or hear, start running right away, and just as fast as you possibly can. Do you promise me to do that? Yes, said Bambi softly. His mother spoke so seriously. She went on speaking. Out there, if I should call you, she said, there must be no looking around and no questions, but you must get behind me instantly. Understand that? Run without pausing or stopping to think. If I begin to run, that means for you to run too, and no stopping until we are back here again. You won't forget, will you?" "No," said Bambi in a troubled voice. "Now, I'm going ahead," said his mother, and seemed to become calmer. She walked out. Bambi, who never took his eyes off her, saw how she moved forward with slow, cautious steps. He stood there, full of expectancy, full of fear and curiosity. He saw how his mother listened in all directions, saw her shrink together, and shrank together himself, ready to leap back into the thickets. Then his mother grew calm again. She stretched herself, then she looked around, satisfied, and called, "Come." Bambi bounded out. Joy seized him with such tremendous force that he forgot his worries in a flash. Through the thicket he could see only the green treetops overhead. Once in a while he caught a glimpse of the blue sky. Now he saw the whole heaven stretching far and wide, and he rejoiced without knowing why. In the forest he had seen only a stray sunbeam now and then, or the tender, dappled light that played through the branches. Suddenly, he was standing in the blinding hot sunlight, whose boundless power was beaming upon him. He stood in the splendid warmth that made him shut his eyes, but which opened his heart. Bambi was as though bewitched. He was completely beside himself with pleasure. He was simply wild. He leaped into the air 3, 4, 5 times. He had to do it. He felt a terrible desire to leap and jump. He stretched his young limbs joyfully. His breath came deep and easily. He drank in the air. The sweet smell of the meadow made him so wildly happy that he had to leap into the air. Bambi was a child. If he had been a human child, he would have shouted. But he was a young deer, and deer cannot shout, at least not the way human children do. So he rejoiced with his legs and with his whole body as he flung himself into the air. His mother stood by and was glad. She saw that Bambi was wild. She watched him, how he bounded into the air and fell again awkwardly in one spot. She saw how he stared around him, dazed and bewildered, only to leap over and over again. She understood that Bambi knew only the narrow deer tracks in the forest, and how his brief life was used to the limits of the thicket. He did not move from one place, because he did not understand how to run freely around the open meadow. So she stretched out her 4 feet and bent laughingly toward Bambi for a moment. Then she was off with one bound, racing around in a circle so that the tall grass stems swished. Bambi was frightened and stood motionless. Was that a sign for him to run back to the thicket? His mother had said to him, "Don't worry about me, no matter what you see or hear. Just run as fast as you can." He was going to turn around and run as she had commanded him to, but his mother came galloping up suddenly. She came up with a wonderful swishing sound and stopped 2 steps from him. She bent toward him, laughing as she had at first, and cried, "Catch me!" And in a flash she was gone. Bambi was puzzled. What did she mean? Then she came back again, running so fast that it made him giddy. She pushed his flank with her nose and said quickly, "Try to catch me!" and fled away. Bambi started after her. He took a few steps, then his steps became short bounds. He felt as if he were flying without any effort on his part. There was a space under his hoofs, space under his bounding feet, space, and still more space. Bambi was beside himself with joy. I'll take a sip of water. The swishing grass sounded wonderful to his ears. It was marvellously soft and fine as silk where it brushed against him. He ran around in a circle, he turned and flew off in a new circle. He turned around again and kept running. His mother was standing still, getting her breath again. She kept following Bambi with her eyes. He was wild. Suddenly, the race was over. He stopped and came up to his mother, lifting his hoofs again elegantly. He looked around joyfully at her. He looked joyfully at her. Then they strolled contentedly side by side. Since he had been in the open, Bambi had felt the sky and the sun and the green meadow with his whole body. He took one blinding, giddy glance at the sun, and felt its rays as they lay warmly on his back. Presently he began to enjoy the meadow with his eyes also. Its wonders amazed him at every step he took. He could not see the tiny speck of earth the way you could see in the forest. Blade after blade of grass covered every inch of the ground. It tossed and waved luxuriantly. It bent softly aside under every footstep, only to rise up unharmed again. The broad green meadow was starred with white daisies, with the thick, round, red and purple clover blossoms and bright, golden dandelion heads. Look, Mother, Bambi explained. There's a flower flying. That's not a flower, said his mother. That's a butterfly. Bambi stared at the butterfly, entranced. It had darted lightly from a blade of grass and was fluttering about in its giddy way. Then Bambi saw that there were many butterflies flying in the air above the meadow. They seemed to be in a hurry, yet moved slowly, fluttering up and down in a sort of game that delighted him. They really did look like gay flying flowers that would not stay on their stems, but had unfastened themselves in order to dance a little. They looked, too, like flowers that came to rest at sundown, but of no fixed places, and have to hunt for them, dropping down and vanishing, as if they really had settled somewhere, yet always flying up again. A little way at first, then higher and higher, and always searching farther and farther, because all the good places have already been taken. Bambi gazed at them all. He would have loved to see one close by. He wanted to see one face to face. But he could not. They flew in and out continually. The air was aflutter with them. When he looked down at the ground again, he was delighted with thousands of living things he saw stirring under his hoofs. They ran and jumped in all directions. He would see a wild swarm of them, and the next moment, they had disappeared in the grass again. "Who are they, Mother?" he asked. "Those are ants," his mother answered. "Look!" cried Bambi. "See that piece of grass jumping? Look how high it can jump." "That's not grass," his mother explained. "That's a nice grasshopper." "Why does he jump that way?" asked Bambi. "Because we're walking here," his mother answered. "He's afraid we'll step on him." "Oh," said Bambi, turning to the grasshopper, who was sitting on a daisy. "Oh," he said again politely. "You don't have to be afraid. We won't hurt you." "I'm not afraid," the grasshopper replied in a quavering voice. I was only frightened for a moment, when I was talking to my wife." "Oh, excuse us for disturbing you," said Bambi shyly. "Oh, not at all," the grasshopper quavered. "Since it's you, it's perfectly all right. But you never know who's coming, and you have to be careful." "This is the first time in my life that I've ever been on the meadow," Bambi explained. "Oh, my mother brought me." The grasshopper was sitting with his head lowered, as though he were going to butt. He put on a serious face and murmured, "Oh, that doesn't interest me at all. I haven't the time to stand here gossiping with you. I have to be looking for my wife. Hop!" And he gave a jump. "Hop!" said Bambi in surprise at the high jump with which the grasshopper vanished. Watching out for Jack Horner. I don't understand that reference. Cow, explain the reference. Bambi ran to his mother. "Mother, I spoke to him!" he cried. "To whom?" his mother asked. "To the grasshopper," Bambi said. "I spoke to him. Oh, he was very nice to me, and I liked him so much. He's so wonderful and green, and you can see through his sides. They look like leaves. Well, but you can't see through a leaf." "Those are his wings," said his mother. "Oh," Bambi went on, "and his face is so serious and wise, but he was very nice to me anyhow. And oh, how he can jump! Hop!" he said, and he jumped so high I couldn't see him anymore. They walked on. The conversation with the grasshopper had excited Bambi and tired him a little, for it was the first time he'd ever spoken to a stranger. He felt hungry and pressed close to his mother to be nursed. Then he stood quietly and gazed dreamily into space for a little while, with a sort of joyous ecstasy that came over him every time he was nursed by his mother. He noticed a bright flower moving in the tangled grasses. Bambi looked more closely at it. No, it wasn't a flower, but a butterfly. Bambi crept closer. The butterfly hung heavily to a grass stem and fanned its wings slowly. "Please sit still," Bambi said. "Why would I sit still? I'm a butterfly," the insect answered in astonishment. "Oh, please sit still just for a minute," Bambi pleaded. "I've wanted so much to see you close. See you close too, please." "Well," said the butterfly, "for your sake I will, but not for long." Bambi stood in front of him. "How beautiful you are!" he cried, fascinated. "How wonderfully beautiful, like a flower!" "What?" cried the butterfly, fanning his wings. "Did you say like a flower? In my circle it's generally supposed that we're handsomer than flowers." Bambi was embarrassed. "Oh, yes," he stammered. Much handsomer. Excuse me, I only meant—" "Whatever you meant is all one to me," the butterfly replied. He arched his thin body affectedly and played with his delicate feelers. Bambi looked at him, enchanted. "How elegant you are," he said. "How elegant and fine! And how splendid and white your wings are!" The butterfly spread his wings apart, then raised them till they folded together, like an upright sail. "Oh," cried Bambi, "I know that you are handsomer than the flowers. Besides, you can fly, and the flowers can't, because they grow on stems, that's why." The butterfly spread his wings. "It's enough," he said, "that I can fly." He soared so lightly that Bambi could hardly see him or follow his flight. His wings moved gently and gracefully. Then he fluttered into the sunny air. "I only sat still that long on your account," he said, balancing on the air in front of Bambi. "Now I'm going." That was how Bambi found the meadow. That's the end of the chapter. I'm going to have another sip. You know, I was talking with a not a casting director, something of a casting director recently for a publishing company, asking about advice on doing audiobook work. And man, yeah, you really do need to be hydrated a lot of the time. It really wears your voice down after a while. And I'm only 2 chapters in. Oftentimes you'll be doing several hours worth of reading in a single session if you're doing an audiobook reading. But yeah. A lot of this is practice for that. I do apologize for the little slip-ups here and there. I've not read the whole thing ahead of time, so I do make little slip-ups here and there, but I hope that's not breaking you out of it too much. But yeah, I do hope this is a pleasant experience so far. Yes. Okay. I don't understand what the Jack Horner joke is, though, cacao beans. I'd like to get a cacao tree. Apparently they take a couple of years to bore fruit, though. But it would be nice to have. Yeah, I don't understand the Jack Horner joke, cow. Maybe one day we'll do. It sounds vaguely familiar, though. Yeah. So another sip of water, actually. Water drinking ASMR. I don't know if this is really ASMR, but I thought I'd put it as ASMR just in case, because, well, that's all I can really think to classify it as. There's no stream for, like, reading or anything like that, so I guess this would count as it. It could be just chatting, really, because we are doing a book reading. Either way, we'll classify as ASMR for now. A stupid moron reading. Oh. That's really helpful. It's really helpful. I didn't realize you thought that way about me, Buster. I guess I'll leave. You know, I'm just, you know, clearly I'm not wanted here. Listen, just because you're not subbed to me, are you? Are you? I just thought I moderated you. I'm like, you don't need to do that. What is? I don't know what a founder badge means, actually. You are a tier 1 sub for 10 months? Holy shit, Buster. Thank you so much. I didn't even know. I know you discussed before that, like, you swap a subscription between me and someone else. But, like, damn. Who knew? Certainly not I. Anyway, let's move on to chapter 3. There's a very lovely picture of some pine cones here, so I imagine we're moving on in the seasons a bit in this chapter. Well, I have the ability... I see. I understand. No problem. Again, no one's ever under any obligation, but I do very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think Twitch gives you, like... It needs to be the equivalent of $50 US in order to be able to withdraw a payout from them. Is that correct? That sounds about right. Yeah. I think I've had one payout from Twitch in my life so far, which is better than nothing at all. I guess it's a nice little bonus to be able to get something out from, I don't know, Steam or something at the Steam sales. Anyway, let's move on to chapter 3. In the heart of the forest was a little glade that belonged to Bambi's mother. Hi there, Yorick. We're doing a Bambi reading. I hope you're doing well. So, in the heart of the forest was a little glade that belonged to Bambi's mother. It lay only a few steps from the narrow trail, where the deer went bounding through the woods. But no one could ever have found it who did not know the little passage leading to it through the thick bushes. The glade was very narrow, so narrow that there was only room for Bambi and his mother, and so low that when Bambi's mother had stood up, her head was hidden among the branches. Sprays of hazel, furze, and dogwood, woven about each other, intercepted the little bit of sunlight. No problem, Yorick. It's okay. Onasha that intercepted the little bit of sunlight that came through the treetops, so that it never reached the ground. Bambi had come into the world in this glade. It was his mother's and his. His mother was lying asleep on the ground. Bambi had dozed a little too, but suddenly he had become wide awake. He got up and looked around. The shadows were so deep where he was that it was almost dark. From the woods came soft rustlings now and again. Now and again, the titmice chirped. Now and again came the clear hammering of the woodpecker, or the joyless call of a crow. Everything else was still, far and wide. But the air was sizzling in the midday heat, so that you could hear it if you listened closely. And it was stiflingly sweet. Bambi looked down at his mother and said, "Are you asleep?" No, his mother was not sleeping. She had awakened the moment Bambi got up. What are we going to do now? Bambi asked. Nothing, his mother answered. We're going to stay right where we are, lie down like a good boy, and go to sleep. But Bambi had no desires to go to sleep. Come on, he begged. Let's go to the meadow. His mother lifted her head. Go to the meadow, she said. Go to the meadow now? Her voice was so full of astonishment and terror that Bambi became quite frightened. Can't we go to the meadow? No, his mother answered, and it sounded very final. No, you can't go now. Why? Bambi perceived that something mysterious was involved. He grew still more frightened, but at the same time he was terribly anxious to know everything. Why can't we go to the meadow? He asked. You'll find out all about it later when you're bigger, his mother replied. But, Bambi insisted, I'd rather know now. Later, his mother repeated. You're nothing but a baby yet, she went on tenderly, and we don't talk about such things to children. She had grown quite serious. Fancy going to the meadow this time of day. I don't even like to think of it. Why, it's broad daylight. But it was broad daylight when we went to the meadow before, Bambi objected. That's different, his mother explained. It was early in the morning. Can we only go there early in the morning? Bambi was very curious. His mother was patient. Only in the early morning or late evening, she said. Or at night. And never in the daytime? Never? His mother hesitated. Well, she said at last, sometimes a few of us do go there in the daytime. But those are special occasions. I can't just explain it to you. You are too young yet. Some of us do go there, but we are exposed to the greatest danger. What kind of danger? Asked Bambi, all attention. But his mother did not want to go on with that conversation. We're in danger, and that's enough for you, my son. You can't understand such things yet. Bambi thought that he could understand everything, except why his mother did not want to tell him the truth. But he kept silent. That's what life means for us, his mother went on. Though we all love the daylight, especially when we're young, we have to lie quiet all day long. We can only roam around from evening till morning. Do you understand? Yes, said Bambi. So, my son, we'll have to stay here where we are. We're safe here. Now, lie down again and go to sleep. But Bambi didn't want to lie down. Why are we safe here? He asked. Because all the bushes shield us, his mother answered, and the twigs snap on the shrubs, and the dry twigs crackle and give us warning, and last year's dead leaves lie on the ground and rustle to warn us. And the jays and magpies keep watch, so we can tell from a distance if anybody is coming. What are last year's leaves? Bambi asked. Come and sit beside me, said his mother, and I will tell you. Bambi sat down contentedly, nestling close to his mother, and she told him how the trees are not always green, how the sunshine and the pleasant warmth disappear. Then it grows cold, and the frost turns the leaves yellow, brown, and red. And they fall slowly so that the trees and bushes stretch their bare branches to the sky and look perfectly naked. But the dry leaves lie on the ground, and when a foot stirs them, they rustle, and then someone is coming. Oh, how kind last year's dead leaves are! They do their duty so well and are so alert and watchful. Even in midsummer, there are a lot of them hidden beneath the undergrowth, and they give warning in advance of every danger. Bambi pressed close against his mother. It was so cozy to sit and listen to while his mother talked. When she grew silent, he began to think. He thought it was very kind and of the good old leaves to keep watch, that they were all dead and frozen and so had suffered so much. He wondered just what the danger could be that his mother was always talking about. But too much thought tired him. Round about him it was still. Only the air sizzling in the heat was audible. Then he fell asleep. Okay, that's and that very short chapter. That chapter 3. Yeah. Now, thank you for coming in, Yorick. I hope you're doing well, my friend. I hope you're doing well. I think I'm gonna have to get some more water. I'll probably just put the background noise on just for a little bit. Just a little bit. Hang on. Yeah. I do hope you're enjoying this little soiree, as it were. Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've done any kind of reading stream, but it's nice to do. It's a nice change, and I think very recently, I mentioned before talking to a casting director, as it were. I think I've been a bit revitalized in wanting to do stuff like this. So, yeah. If not for anyone else, it's for myself, right? As like a point of improvement, as it were, a way to improve my own skills. Anyway, I'll be back in just a second. I'm just gonna go and get some more water. One moment, please. I have returned, feeling hydrated and with more hydration to go. How long go for now? Just over an hour? That's fine, we can go for a bit longer, quite a bit longer, honestly. What time is it now? It's 9:30. Okay. Well, yeah, at least want to go till 10 o'clock, at the very least. Okay. So, actually 1 second. Okay. Let's go on with chapter 4. One evening, Bambi was roaming about the meadow again with his mother. He thought that he knew everything there was to see or hear there. But in reality, It appeared that he did not know as much as he thought. This time, it was just like the first. Bambi played tag with his mother. He ran around in circles, and the open space, the deep sky, the fresh air intoxicated him so that he grew perfectly wild. After a while, he noticed that his mother was standing still. He stopped short in the middle of a leap so suddenly that his forelegs spread far apart. To get his balance, he bounded high into the air and then stood erect. His mother seemed to be talking to someone he couldn't make out through the tall grasses. Bambi toddled up inquisitively. Two long ears were moving in the tangled grass stems close to his mother. They were greyish-brown and prettily marked with black stripes. Bambi stopped, but his mother said, "Come here. This is our friend, the hare. Come here like a nice boy and let him see you." Bambi went over. There sat the hare, looking like a very honest creature. At times his long, spoon-like ears stood bolt upright. At others they fell back limply as though they had suddenly grown weak. Bambi became somewhat critical as he looked at the whiskers that stood out so stiff and straight on both sides of the hare's mouth. But he noticed then that the hare had a very mild face and extremely good-natured features, and that he cast timid glances at the world from out of his big round eyes. The hare really did look friendly. Bambi's passing doubts vanished immediately, but oddly enough, he had lost all the respect he originally felt for the hare. Good evening, young man," the hare greeted him with studied politeness. Bambi merely nodded good evening. He didn't understand why, but he simply nodded. He was very friendly and civil, but a little condescending. He could not help himself. Perhaps he was born that way. "Oh, what a charming young prince," said the hare to Bambi's mother. He looked at Bambi attentively, raising first one spoon-like ear, then the other, and then both of them and letting them fall again, suddenly and limply, which didn't please Bambi. The motion of the hare's ear seemed to say, he isn't worth bothering with. Meanwhile, the hare continued to study Bambi with his big round eyes. His nose and his mouth, with the handsome whiskers, moved incessantly in the same way a man who's trying not to sneeze twitches his nose and lips. Bambi had to laugh. The hare laughed quickly, too, but his eyes grew more thoughtful. "I congratulate you," he said to Bambi's mother. "I sincerely congratulate you on your own son. Yes, indeed, he will make a splendid prince in time. Anyone can see that." To Bambi's boundless surprise, he suddenly sat straight on his hind legs. After he had spied all around with his ears stiffened and his nose constantly twitching, he sat down decently on all fours again. "Now, if you good people will excuse me," he said at last, "I have all kinds of things to do tonight. If you'll be so good as to excuse me." He turned around and hopped off with his ears back so that they touched his shoulders. "Good evening," Bambi called after him. His mother smiled. "The good hare," she said. "He is so suave and prudent. He doesn't have an easy time of it in this world." There was sympathy in her voice. Bambi strolled about a little and left his mother to her meal. He wanted to meet his friend again, and he wanted to make new acquaintances. Besides, without being very clear himself what it was he wanted, he felt a certain expectancy. Suddenly, at a distance, he heard a soft rustling on the meadow and felt a quick, gentle step tapping the ground. He peered ahead of him. Over the edge of the woods, something was gliding through the grasses. Was it alive? No. There were two things. Bambi cast a quick glance at his mother. but she wasn't paying attention to anything and had her head deep in the grass. The game was going on the other side of the meadow, in a shifting circle exactly as Bambi himself had raced around before. Bambi was so excited that he sprang back as if he wanted to run away. Then his mother noticed him and raised her head. "What's the matter?" she called. But Bambi was speechless. He could not find his tongue and only stammered, Look over there!" His mother looked. "I see," she said. "That's my sister. And sure enough, she has a baby too. No, she has two of them." His mother spoke at first out of pure happiness, but she had grown serious. "To think that Anna has two babies," she said. "Two of them." Bambi stood gazing across the meadow. He saw a creature that looked just like his mother. He hadn't even noticed her before. He saw that the grasses were being shaken in a double circle, but only a pair of reddish backs were visible, like thin red streaks. "Come," his mother said. "We'll go over. There'll be company for you." Bambi would have run, but as his mother walked slowly, peering to the right and left at every step, he held himself back. Still, he was bursting with excitement and very impatient. "I thought we would meet Anna sometime," his mother went on to say. "Where could she have been keeping herself? I thought I knew she had one child. It wasn't hard to guess. I thought I knew she had one child. That wasn't hard to guess. But two of them!" At last the others saw them and came to meet them. Bambi had to greet his aunt, but his mind was entirely on the children. His aunt was very friendly. "Well," she said to him, "this is Gobo, and that is Faline. Now you run along and play together." The children stood stock still and stared at each other. Gobbo close behind Faline, and Bambi in front of him. None of them stared. They stood and gaped. "Run along," said Bambi's mother. "You'll soon be friends." "What a lovely child," Aunt Enna replied. "He is really lovely. So strong, and he stands so well." "Oh, well," said his mother modestly. "You'd have to be content. But to have two of them, Enna." "Oh, yes, that's all very well," Enna declared. "You know, dear, I've had children before." "Bambi is my first," his mother replied. "We'll see," Enna comforted her. "Perhaps it'll be different with you next time, too." The children were still standing and staring at each other. No one said a word. Suddenly Faline gave a leap and rushed away. It had become too much for her. In a moment, Bambi darted after her. Gobbo followed him, and they flew around in a semicircle. They turned tail and fell over each other. Then they chased each other up and down. It was glorious. When they stopped, all topsy-turvy and somewhat breathless, they were already good friends. They began to chatter. Bambi told them how he talked to the nice grasshopper and the butterfly. "Did you ever talk to the gold bug?" asked Faline. "Oh, no." Bambi had never talked to the gold bug. He did not even know who he was. "I talk to him often," Faline declared a little pertly. "The jay insulted me," said Bambi. "Really?" said Gobbo, astonished. "Did the jay treat you like that?" Gobbo was very astonished, and he was extremely timid. "Well," he observed, "the hedgehog stuck me in the nose." We only mentioned it in passing. "Who's the hedgehog?" Bambi asked eagerly. I just realised the music's on, the background noise is on. That's okay. Well, he observed, the hedgehog stuck me in the nose. But he only mentioned it in passing. "Who is the hedgehog?" Bambi asked eagerly. It seemed wonderful to him to be there with friends, listening to so many exciting things. "Oh, the hedgehog is a terrible creature," cried Faline, "full of long spines all over his body, and very wicked." "Do you really think he's wicked?" asked Gobbo. "He never hurts anybody." "Is that so?" answered Faline quickly. "Didn't he stick you?" "Oh, that was only because I wanted to speak to him," Gobbo replied. "And only a little anyhow. It didn't hurt much." "It hurt me much." Bambi turned to Gobbo. "Why didn't he want to talk to him? Why didn't he want you to talk to him?" he asked. "He doesn't talk to anybody," Faline interrupted. "Even if you just come where he is, he rolls himself up so he's nothing but prickles all over. Our mother says he's one of those people who don't want to have anything to do with the world." "Maybe he's only afraid," Gobbo said. But Faline knew better. "Mother says you shouldn't meddle with such people," she said. Presently, Bambi began to ask Gobbo softly, "Do you know what danger means?" Then they both grew serious, and all three heads drew together. Gobbo thought a while. He made a special effort to remember, for he saw how curious Bambi was for the answer. "Danger," he whispered, "is something very bad." "Yes," Bambi declared excitedly, "I know it's something very bad. But what?" All three trembled at the fear. Suddenly, Faline cried out loudly and joyfully, "I know what danger is. It's what you run away from." She sprang away. She couldn't bear to stay there any longer and be frightened. In an instant, Bambi and Gobbo bounded after her. They began to play again. They tumbled in the rustling, silky green meadow grass, and in a twinkling had forgotten all about the absorbing question. After a while, they stopped and stood chattering together as before. They looked toward their mothers. They were standing close, eating a little and carrying on a quiet conversation. Aunt Enna raised her head and called the children. "Come, Gobbo, come, Faline, we have to go now." And Bambi's mother said to him, "Come, it's time to go." "Oh, wait just a little longer," Faline pleaded eagerly. "Just a little while." "Oh, let's stay a little longer, please," Bambi pleaded. "It's so nice." And Gobbo repeated timidly, "Oh, it's so nice. Just a little longer." All three spoke at once. Enna looked at Bambi's mother. "What did I tell you?" she said. "They won't want to separate now." Then something happened that was much more exciting than everything that happened to Bambi that day. After the woods came the sound of hoofs beating the earth. Branches snapped, the boughs rustled, and before Bambi had time to listen, something burst out of the thicket. Someone came crashing and rustling with someone else, rushing after him. They tore by like... My apologies. They tore by like the wind, described a wide circle in the meadow, and vanished into the woods again, where they could be heard galloping. Then they came bursting out of the thicket again, and suddenly stood still, about 20 paces apart. Bambi looked at them, and did not stare. They looked like his mother and Aunt Enna, but their heads were crowned with gleaming antlers, covered with brown beads and bright white prongs. Bambi was completely overcome. He looked over from one to the other. One was smaller and his antlers narrower, but the other one was stately and beautiful. He carried his head up, and his antlers rose high above it. They flashed from dark to light, adorned with the splendor of many black and brown beads, and the gleam of the branching white prongs. "Oh!" cried Faline in admiration. "Oh!" Gobbo repeated softly, but Bambi said nothing. He was entranced and silent. Then they both moved, and, turning away from each other, walked slowly back into the woods in opposite directions. The stately stag passed close to the children, and Bambi's mother and Aunt Enna. He passed by in silent splendor, holding his noble head royally high, and honoring no one with so much as a glance. The children did not dare to breathe till he had disappeared into the thicket. They turned to look after the other one, but at the very moment the green door of the forest closed on him. Valine was the first to break the silence. "Who are they?" she cried, but her pert little voice trembled. "Who are they?" Gobbo repeated in a hardly audible voice. Bambi kept silent. Enna said solemnly, "Those were your fathers." Nothing more was said, and they parted. Aunt Enna led her children into the nearest thicket. It was her trail. Bambi and his mother had to cross the whole meadow to the oak in order to reach their own path. He was silent for a long time, before he finally asked, "Didn't they see us?" His mother understood what he meant and replied, "Of course, they saw all of us." Bambi was troubled. He felt shy about asking questions, but it was too much for him. Then why?" he began and stopped. His mother helped him along. "What is it you wanted to know, son?" she asked. "Why didn't they stay with us?" "They don't ever stay with us," his mother answered. "Only at times." Bambi continued. "But why didn't they speak to us?" His mother said. "They don't speak to us now. Only at time. We have to wait till they come to us, and we have to wait for them to speak to us. They do it whenever they like." With a troubled heart, Bambi asked, "Will my father speak to me?" "Of course he will," his mother promised. "When you're grown up, he'll speak to you, and you'll have to stay with him sometimes." Bambi walked silently beside his mother, his whole mind filled with his father's appearance. "How handsome he is!" he thought over and over again. "How handsome he is!" As though his mother could read his thoughts, she said, "If you live, my son, if you are cunning and don't run into danger, you'll be as strong and handsome as your father is sometime, and you'll have antlers like his too." Bambi breathed deeply. His heart swelled with joy and expectancy. That was into chapter 4 there, so we've introduced to Bambi's father now. Rather stoic figure. I think I could have done better on that reading, but you know what, that's okay. It's not a problem. There's always things to work on. I think... What do you say? Do we do one more chapter or do we leave it now? I think maybe we can do one more chapter. Okay, yeah, let's do one more. And then we can finish off the book another time. Well, it wouldn't be able to finish it. I think... Okay, we finished chapter 5 here. I think maybe we can do this in like 3 or 4 streams, perhaps. It's not a very long book. But as I'm just kind of training myself to be able to read for these long periods of time, I guess it's different from interacting with chat where I still talk a lot, but I'm having to put in a focus on narration here, which maybe makes me more cognizant of it. Anyway. Chapter 5. Time had passed, and Bambi had many adventures and went through many experiences. Every day brought something new. Sometimes he felt quite giddy. He had so incredibly much to learn. Excuse me. He could listen now. Not merely hear when things happened so close that they struck the ear of their own mother. Let me try that again. He could listen now, not merely hear, when things happened so close that they struck the ear of their own accord. No, There's really no art in that. He could really listen intelligently now to everything that stirred, no matter how softly. He heard even the tiniest whisper that the wind brought by. For instance, he knew that a pheasant was running through the next bushes. He recognized clearly the soft, quick tread that was always stopping. He knew by ear the sound the field mice make when they run to and fro on their little paths, and the patter of the moles when they are in the good humour and chase one another around in the alder bushes, so that there is just the slightest rustling. He heard the shrill, clear call of the falcon, and he knew, from its altered, angry tones, when a hawk or an eagle approached. The falcon was angry because she was afraid her field would be taken from her. He knew the beat of the wood dove's wings, the beautiful, distant, soaring cries of the ducks, and many other things besides. He knew how to sniff the air now too. Soon he would do it as well as his mother. He could breathe in the air and at the same time analyze it with his senses. That's clover and meadow grass, he would think, when the wind blew off the fields. And friend Hare is out there too. I can smell him plainly. Again he would notice the smell of leaves and earth, wild leek and wood mustard, that the ferret was passing by. He could tell by putting his nose to the ground and snuffing deeply that the fox was afoot, or he would know that one of his family was somewhere nearby. It might be Aunt Enna and the children. But now he was good friends with the night, and no longer wanted to run about so much in broad daylight. He was quite willing to lie all day long in the shade of the leafy glade with his mother. He would listen to the air sizzling in the heat, and then fall asleep. From time to time, he would wake up, listen and snuff the air to find out how things stood. Everything was as it should be. Only the titmice were chattering a little to each other. The midges, who were hardly ever still, hummed, while the wood doves never ceased declaiming their ecstatic tenderness even. What concern was it of his? He would drop off to sleep again. He liked the night very much now. Everything was alive, everything was in motion. Of course, he had to be cautious at night too, but still he could be less careful. And he could go wherever he wanted. And everywhere he went, he met acquaintances. They, too, were always less nervous than in the daytime. At night the woods were solemn and still. There were only a few voices. They sounded loud in the stillness. They had a different ring from daytime voices, and left a deeper impression. Bambi liked to see the owl. She had such a wonderful flight, perfectly light and perfectly noiseless. She made as little sound as a butterfly, and yet she was so dreadfully big. She had such striking features too. So pronounced and so deeply thoughtful. I lost where I was at. And such wonderful eyes. Bambi admired her firm, quietly courageous glance. He liked to listen when she talked to his mother, or to anybody else. He would stand a little to one side, for he was somewhat afraid of the masterful glance that he admired so much. He did not understand most of the clever things she said, but he knew they were clever, and they pleased him and filled him with respect for the owl. Then the owl would begin to hoot. "Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ah," she would cry. It sounded different from the thrush's song or the yellow bird's, different from the friendly notes of the cuckoo. But Bambi loved the owl's cry, for he felt its mysterious earnestness, its unutterable wisdom, and strange melancholy. Then there was the screech owl, a charming little fellow, lively and gay, with no end to his inquisitiveness. He was bent on attracting attention. Oi, he would call in a terrible, high-pitched, piercing voice. It sounded as if he were on the point of death. But he was really in a beaming good humor, and was hilariously happy whenever he frightened anybody. "Oi! Yuck!" He would cry so dreadfully loud that the forest heard it for a mile around. But afterward he would laugh with a soft chuckle, though you could only hear it if you stood close by. Bambi discovered that the screech owl was delighted whenever he frightened anyone, or when anybody thought that something dreadful had happened to him. After that, whenever Bambi met him, he never failed to rush up and ask, "Oh, what has happened to you?" or to say with a sigh, "Oh, how you frightened me just now." Then the owl would be delighted. "Oh, yes," he would say, laughing, "it sounds pretty gruesome." He would puff up his feathers and greyish-white ball and look extremely handsome. There were storms, too, once or twice, both in the daytime and at night. The first was in the daytime, and Bambi felt himself grow terrified as it became darker and darker at its glade. It seemed to him as if night had covered the sky at midday. When the raging storm broke through the woods so that the trees began to groan aloud, Bambi trembled with fear. And when the lightning flashed and the thunder growled, Bambi was numb with fear and thought the end of the world had come. He ran behind his mother, who had sprung up somewhere that disturbed him and was walking back and forth in the thicket. He could not think about nor understand anything. The rain fell in raging torrents. Everyone had run to shelter. The woods were empty. But there was no escaping the rain. The pouring water penetrated even the thickest parts of the bushes. Presently the lighting stopped, and the fiery rays ceased to flicker through the treetops. The thunder rolled away. Bambi could hear it in the distance, and soon it stopped altogether. The rain beat more gently. It pattered evenly and steadily around him for another hour. The forest stood, breathing deeply in the calm, and let the water drain off. No one was afraid to come out any more. The feeling had passed. The rain had washed it away. Never before had Bambi and his mother gone to the meadow as early as on that evening. It was not even dusk yet. The sun was still high in the sky, the air was extremely fresh, and smelled sweeter than usual, and the woods rang with 1,000 voices, for everyone had crept out of his shelter, and, running excitedly, telling what had just happened. Before they went on to the meadow, they passed the great oak that stood near the forest edge, close to the trail. They always had to pass the beautiful big tree when they went to the meadow. This time the squirrel was sitting on a branch and greeted them. Bambi was good friends with the squirrel. The first time he met him, he took him for a very small deer because of the squirrel's red coat, and stared at him in surprise. But Bambi had been very childish at that time and had known nothing at all. The squirrel pleased him greatly from the first. He was so thoroughly civil and talkative, and Bambi loved to see how he wonderfully could turn and climb and leap and balance himself. In the middle of a conversation, the squirrel would run up and down the smooth tree trunk as though there was nothing to it, or he would sit upright on a swaying branch, balancing himself comfortably with his bushy tail, with his bushy tail that stuck up so gracefully behind him, display his white chest, hold his little forepaws elegantly in front of him, nod his head this way and that, laugh with his jolly eyes, and in a twinkling say a lot of comical and interesting things. Then he would come down again, so swiftly and with such leaps that you would expect him to tumble on his head. He twitched with his long tail violently. "Hiya, Commodore. I hope you're doing well. We're just reading a bit of Bambi. We're gonna be on chapter 5 at the moment, I think. Yeah. Hope you're doing well, Commodore." He twitched his long tail violently and called to them overhead. Good day! It's so nice of you to come over." Bambi and his mother stopped. The squirrel ran down the smooth trunk. "Well," he clattered, "did you get through it all right? Of course, I see that everything it's first rate. That's the main thing." He ran up the trunk again, like lightning, and said, "Oh, it's too wet for me down there. Wait, I'm going to look for a better place. I hope you don't mind." Thanks, I knew you wouldn't. And we can talk just as well from here." He ran back and forth along a straight limb. It was a bad business. He said, no, let me try that again. He ran back and forth along a straight limb. "Oh, it was a bad business," he said. "A monstrous uproar. You wouldn't believe how scared I was. I hunched myself up as still as a mouse in the corner, and hardly dared move. Oh, that's the worst of it, having to sit there and not move, and all the time you're hoping nothing will happen. Oh, but my tree is wonderful in such cases. There's no denying it. My tree is wonderful. We'll say that for it. I'm satisfied with it. As long as I've had it, I've never wanted any other. But when it cuts loose the way it did today, oh, you're sure to get frightened no matter where you are." The squirrel sat up, balancing himself with his handsome, upright tail. He displayed his white chest and pressed both forepaws protestingly against his heart. You believed, without his adding anything, that he had been excited. Take a sip of water. I need to slow down a little bit. I'm making some mistakes on here. That's okay. It's all a learning process. "We're going to the meadow now, to dry ourselves all off in the sun," Bambi's mother said. Oh, that was his mother. "We're going to the meadow now, to dry ourselves off in the sun," Bambi's mother said. "Ah, that's a good idea," cried the squirrel. "You're really so clever. I'm always saying how clever you are." With a bound, he sprang onto a higher branch. "You couldn't do anything better than go to the meadow now," he called down. Then he swung with light bounds back and forth through the treetop. "I'm going up here, where I can get the sunlight," he shouted merrily. "Oh, I'm all soaked through. I'm going all the way up." He didn't care whether they were still listening to him or not. The meadow was full of life. Friend Hare was there, and had brought along his brought along his family. Aunt Enna was there, with her children and a few acquaintances. My nose is itchy. That day, Bambi saw the fathers again. They came slowly out. They came slowly out of the forest in opposite directions. There was a third stag, too. Each walked slowly on his track, back and forth along the meadows. They paid no attention to anyone, and did not even talk to one another. Bambi looked at them frequently. He was respectful, but full of curiosity. Then he talked to Faline and Gobbo and a few other children. He wanted to play a while. All agreed, and they began running around in a circle. Faline was the gayest of all. She was so fresh and nimble, and brimming over with bright ideas. But Gobbo was soon tired. He had been terribly frightened by the storm. His heart had hammered loudly and was still pounding. There was something very weak about Gobbo, but Bambi liked him, because he was so good and willing and always a little sad without letting you know it. Time passed, and Bambi was learning how good the meadow grass tasted, how tender and sweet the leaf buds and clover were. When he nestled against his mother for comfort, it often happened that she pushed him away. "You want a little baby any more?" she would say. Sometimes she would even said abruptly, "Go away and let me be." It even happened that his mother got up in the little forest glade, got up in the middle of the day, and went off without noticing whether Bambi was following her or not. At times, it seemed as if they were wandering down the familiar paths, as if his mother did not want to notice whether Bambi was behind her or was trailing after. One day, his mother was gone. Bambi did not know how such a thing could be possible. He could not figure it out, but his mother was gone, and for the first time, Bambi was left alone. He wandered about. He was troubled. He grew worried and anxious and began to want her terribly. He stood quietly, calling her. Nobody answered, and nobody came. He listened and snuffed the air. He could not smell anything. He called again, softly, pathetically, tearfully. He called, "Mother, Mother," in vain. Then despair seized him. He could not stand it and started to walk. He wandered down the trails he knew, stopping and calling. He wandered farther and farther, with hesitating steps, frightened and helpless. He was very downcast. He went on and came to trails where he had never been before. He came to places that were strange to him. He no longer knew where he was going. Then he heard two childish voices like his own, calling, "Mother, Mother!" He stood still and listened. Surely that was Gobbo and Faline. It must be they. He ran quickly toward the voices, and soon he saw the little red jackets showing through the leaves. Gobbo and Faline were standing side by side under a dogwood tree and calling mournfully, "Mother! Mother!" They were overjoyed when they heard the rustling in the bushes, but they were disappointed when they saw Bambi. They were a little consoled that he was there, however, and Bambi was glad not to be all alone any more. "My mother is gone," Bambi said. "Ours is gone too," Gobbo said plaintively. They looked at one another and were quite despondent. "Where can they be?" asked Bambi. He was almost sobbing. "I don't know," sighed Gobbo. His heart was pounding, and he felt miserable. Suddenly, Faline said, "I think they may be with our fathers." Gobbo and Bambi looked at her surprised. They were filled with awe. "You mean that they're visiting our fathers?" asked Bambi and trembled. Faline trembled too, but she made a wise face. She acted like a person who knows more than she will let on. Of course, she knew nothing. But when Gobbo repeated, "Do you really think so?" she put on a meaningful air and answered, mysteriously, "Yes, I think so." Anyway, it was a suggestion that needed to be thought about. But in spite of that, Bambi felt no easier. He couldn't even think about it. He was too troubled and too sad. He went off. He couldn't stay in one place. Faline and Gobbo went along with him for a little while. All three were calling, "Mother! Mother!" Then Gobbo and Faline stopped, and they did not dare go any farther. Faline said, "Why should we? Mother knows where we are. Let's stay here so she can find us when she comes back." Bambi went on alone. He wandered through a thicket to a little clearing. In the middle of the clearing, Bambi stopped short. He suddenly felt as if he were rooted to the ground, and could not move. On the edge of the clearing, by a tall hazel bush, a creature was standing. Bambi had never seen such a creature before. At the same time, the air brought him such a scent as he had never smelled in his life. It was a strange smell, heavy and acrid. It excited him to the point of madness. Bambi stared at the creature. It stood remarkably erect. It was extremely thin and had a pale face, entirely bare around the nose and the eyes. A kind of dread emanated from that face. A cold terror. That face had tremendous power over him. It was unbearably painful to look at that face, and yet Bambi stood staring fixedly at it. For a long time, the creature stood there, without moving. Then, it stretched out a leg, high up near its face. Bambi had not even noticed that there was one there. But as that terrible leg was reaching out into the air, Bambi was swept away by the mere gesture. In a flash, he was back into the thicket where he came from and was running away. In a twinkling, his mother was with him again, too. She bounded beside him over the shrubs and bushes. They ran side by side as fast as they could. His mother was in the lead. She knew the way, and Bambi followed. They ran till they came to their glade. "Did you see him?" asked the mother softly. Bambi could not answer. He had no breath left. He only nodded. "That was he," said the mother. And they both shuddered. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight then. Yeah. I understand that these kind of streams can be a bit awkward to kind of jump in on and be trying to figure out what's going on. But I do hope for the people who were listening tonight that you were able to enjoy yourself a little bit. I felt myself messing up and making a lot of slip-ups at the end there. And yeah, I guess reading is a skill for this, which you just need to practice. So yeah, hopefully you're okay with me messing up a little bit. Hopefully it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, we're going to leave it there for tonight, folks. Chapter 6 is where we'll be on next. I'll probably be doing another stream for this next Friday evening. I think it's a nice way to end the week. Yeah, Friday evening. And I keep itching my nose and my tracking keeps messing up, but it's okay. But yeah. This is fun, this is nice, pleasant. I think it's a good point to leave it on. Very clearly, Bambi has just had his first interaction with man. And yeah, what a horrifying note to end it on. But yeah. Well, thank you, Yorick, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Yorick, I do appreciate that. Yeah. But yes, we've, Bambi has had his first interaction with man now. I think that's a good point to end it on for the stream today. Yeah, we'll be back next Friday for Bambi, because I think it's a pleasant time to do it. I'll be streaming tomorrow as well. I will be doing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Sky, Mystery Explorer Sky, and yeah, I've not been able to practice everything I need to do for the Okami speedrun, so it's still going to be a bit delayed in attempts to do that. Plus, I still need to get a capture card for it because my PC is poorly optimized and can't run all the things I want to run, as well as Okami on PC, so I'll get a capture card for it, it'll be fine. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's going to be everything for today, folks. I do hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope it was a very pleasant evening. And if it wasn't, well, that's okay. But yeah, I'm going to improve. I will be better and better with each one. So, yeah, I hope you're looking forward to it. And yeah, if there's any books anyone would like to read in the future, I'd be happy to listen to suggestions. I just thought this would be a nice one. It's a fairly calm book, I think. A while ago, I read the original Winnie the Pooh books on stream, and they were delightful to read. So yeah. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it there now. So thank you so much for coming, folks. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Keep well, stay safe, eat lots of good food. I'm going to have some food now, actually. And yeah, have a good one. Okay, thanks a lot. See you in a bit. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye. Good night.